Down in the place to be. Forget your cares and more, most definitely.
What goes on, guys? We're back here again with yet another review, and today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new BendyFigs toys by the Noble Collection Minions figures. These are more Despicable Me type things because none of these characters, I don't think, were featured in a Minions movie, at least not in this version of them, for very long. I know in the Minions Rise of Gru, obviously, it was Kid Gru, not this Gru, and then Vector just had like a little cameo picture kind of thing, so nothing crazy. And Dr. Nefario was younger, so, and then Balthazar was not in anything. But I guess it's not Despicable Me franchise, it's the Minions franchise now. I don't really know. But anyway, we're going to be taking a look at the entire set because these are awesome, and I really hope we get more. Like, I would like Lucy, the girls, and then can we get like 2-scale minions? Even if their arms just move, I would get a shit ton of minions. I do like Despicable Me, and I do like the Minions. I know they kind of got like plastered out, I guess, overkill, but I still do like the Minions. But anyway, these are really funny figures to have. But you did villain number 2 or villain number 1 and villain number 3. Where is El Macho? That was my favorite villain. Where the fuck is El Macho? I would love to see him. That would be awesome. So get us El Macho. That'd be really cool. But anyway, taking a look at the packaging here, it's pretty standard for what we see with the line, but obviously you get Gru with a Minion up there, and then the whole set on the back with the figures here. There's a barcode if you're looking for it. I picked these up on Amazon. I gotta check for something, and it was like $75 for all of them, and I was like, okay, so I picked these up with a couple other things. Taking a look at the main man himself, Gru, same thing. On the back, he looks like a Chad there, absolutely. And then get a little bit of a barcode there. And then, oh yeah, we got Vector. There he is with his squid gun or piranha gun. Yeah, that one's the piranha gun. Yeah, I guess it's the piranha gun. But there's his barcode if you're looking for that. Sometimes he's at Walmart, sometimes they don't. And then, of course, Dr. Nefario. His package is bigger than the other ones because he's a big boy. His is like the size of Pose. And then there's his barcode, and then you get to see Dr. Nefario back there. So, without further ado, I'm pretty excited to open these up. I know that these aren't for everybody, but for me, I just like getting cool characters on the shelf, and who wouldn't want Vector and Gru on the shelf, you know? So, without further ado, let's go ahead and pop these guys open. So, getting the squad out of the packaging. These are awesome. Like, they're not articulated. I understand that. And again, I realize that this isn't everybody's cup of tea. Plus, I know a lot of people find the Minions in that whole universe either very ugly or annoying, or ugly and annoying. But, you know, for me, I grew up on this kind of stuff, and I'm very happy to see. I always talked about in my videos, like, what we'd like to see, blah, blah, blah. I can't wait until the day when I'm an adult collector, and the stuff that once, you know, I'm at that age, will find nostalgic, like things like Ben 10, Cartoon Network cartoons, other Nickelodeon cartoons. Like, it's kind of happening with SpongeBob already, but I can't wait till it happens with everything, especially like little niche stuff. Like Ben 10's a big one for me. Adventure Time, can't wait till that gets a big resurgence, and, you know, all this good stuff. But, you know, this is a good start. So without further ado, I'm going to start from my least favorite to my favorite, just because, you know how we rock in it. We got to take it one at a time. And obviously my least favorite is going to be Dr. Nefario, but that's just because he's basically a brick of a figure. He's really heavy in terms of, you know, an action figure. And I think he looks fantastic. Like, just standing there, like, that's Dr. Nefario, right? Like, that looks just like him. He's got his little smiley face right there. So this must be, you know, when he kind of quits making the selected jellies and jams. But I think he looks great. His hair, it's funny that the tie in the package was just on his hair. So when I got it off of his legs, he just kind of slid out. But I love the face sculpt on there. The goggles look great. The teeth are painted very nicely, actually. Sometimes the paint can be a little on this line, but honestly, this looks great. The metallic-y leather black paint that they use on the gloves look great. The Gru logo on the gloves looks awesome. Like I said, you get the little smiley face. The yellow on his shirt's painted good, and then that like kind of like glossy black gets carried into the boots and buttons on his lab coat. And then I really like the way they painted the pants. You barely see them, but I really think that they went the extra mile in doing that. What they did was sculpted all these lines and then kind of did like a yellow wash, which is something I've never seen. So worked great. But yeah, you can see the holes on the back of them. The strap is painted all the way around his head. And he does come with an accessory. He comes with a kind of like an Erlenmeyer flask, but more like a round bottom. You can see that you can see the seam and stuff. It's just kind of on the inside. The only complaint that I have really is that, you don't really hold a beaker like that, or a flask like that. You kind of got to hold it up like that, and he really can't do that. They always say that these are posable toy-lectables, I think is the word that they like to use, but in terms of articulation, you're really not going to get anything out of Dr. Nefario here. The arms just don't do anything, and then the legs, they'll kind of stay in place because they are thinner, but there's really no point in that. That, for me, is just kind of like twisting them to make sure his feet look straight and, to help him stand. But if he doesn't feel like standing for you, you do get a figure stand with it as well, with his being the GRU logo. So, yeah, it's great for what it is, but also for what it is, it's not that great because it's supposed to bend and it doesn't bend. But I mean, that's hard with a design like this. I mean, that was my biggest complaint with Poe, is like, oh, he looks great, but it doesn't do anything. But I can't help it. I've always wanted a Despicable Me line, and the fact that we're getting Dr. Nefario in the first wave, that's awesome. So I do like this figure, despite the fact that he doesn't really do anything. Next up on the line, we do have Balthazar Bratt, which he was my least favorite and least compelling out of the three villains that we saw in the Despicable Me movies. My personal favorite was El Macho, just because I love El Macho, and then Vector, and then Balthazar. But I do think that this figure was executed really good in a lot of ways. I love that in the movie his design was that he kept his hairstyle, but since he's older and not a kid anymore, he's not like a little brat, but he's got a bald spot. They did paint that bald spot in there, which is nice. His hair is really glossy for some reason. I might go ahead and spray that with like a matte finish or something, but you do get an amazing head sculpt on him. It looks just like he does out of the movie. You get that big dangling earring. All that nonsense, his collar. He's 80s, right? So, of course, he's got to be looking like he's from the 80s. So you get his gloves that aren't painted good. I'll admit that. They are not painted very, very good at all. The other one was kind of worse, but this one's not painted particularly good either. Gotta take this off real quick. But that one's not very painted very good neither. The shirt's painted okay. Again, he kind of suffers from bad paint apps. Like I said, sometimes this line doesn't really have good paint apps. The sculpt on his body looks good with the baggy pants and then the tight pants. They're kind of just baggy around the knees. And then you get his cool shoes, which, again, aren't painted very well neither. They're just brown smudge. He stepped in some 80s dog poo on the way here. But they did paint the bottom of his feet with some peg holes. So I do like it. You can see all the holes on the back of him. But I think they did execute his piano guitar. I forget what this is called. If you guys know what this is called, let me know in the comments. But these come separate in the package, so you just kind of clip this, like poke this through, weave that in there. That looks really good. And then, the piano is painted very, very nicely. All the keys are on there good. Even these little 3 lines are painted. They're not painted good, but I appreciate the paint apps. The circles are painted good, though. So these are like the keys, like the notes, I guess, like the guitar part of it. And then the silver on the top is actually really, really nice, and it goes all the way around. So even there's sculpt on the back. So I do like this. And then, like you just saw me do, you can kind of weave it around his head without taking it off again. And it sits pretty good. And then if you get it in this hand, he will hold it. It's just a matter of how you want to pose him, kind of thing. But for the most part, he's just going to kind of stand there. So in terms of articulation, I'll throw this on his back for now. The head actually, whoa, all right, so don't grab it by his head. I'll have to glue that. But he does look up and down a little bit, side to side a little bit, and he'll kind of pivot. It kind of just reverts right back, so you're not really going to get much. The arms are really bendy on this. I'll give them that all day. That they bend, and you can kind of rotate them and move them all around. So I'm okay with that. The torso, God, this head is like, the paint is kind of scraping off on him. He will bend a little bit at the torso, nothing crazy. This arm does the same thing. And then the legs, he's got to be the most flexible. I mean, that was kind of his whole thing, was that he would dance and shit like that. So There's that. He'll kick forward and back. No real knee, you just kind of got to bend the whole leg. And then same with like the ankles and stuff, where you can kind of twist it to help him stand better. None of these really have a problem standing, which is pretty cool. Even Gru, who I thought was going to be a little bit difficult, but they kind of made his legs bigger than they actually are in the movies. But yeah, so you can get him to do what you want him to do, which is really nice. Again, he's not crazy articulated, but he does stand good. And again, if he doesn't want to stand, you do have the option of putting him with this figure stand. That came with scuffs on it. Not a big fan of that. But you do get the Balthazar Bratt logo, which apparently is just a B. So not really happy about that, or don't really care about that. I'm not upset about it. But yeah, so I think he looks great. And so far, he's the most posable bendy fig I've ever handled. Which isn't saying much. But yeah, he's pretty good. I do like him, despite not really caring for the character. Oh, poop. The one, the only, oh yeah, Vector. This is awesome to have. He kind of looked like my brother, for real. My brother kind of has, if this was Curly, bro, it looked just like him. He wear these dumbass outfits, so it's pretty funny. But, and his name is Vincent, so Victor, Vincent, it's uncanny, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think that this is really funny to have this in my collection. I really do like this. I think the head sculpt is great. He's got that stupid snarky smile on him. His weird ass cut. I wish a wash could go in his hair a little bit, but unfortunately it does not. The glasses are a little weird, and I kind of wish they were painted a little bit cleaner, but they're not terrible. And then the mouth looks good. I like that they actually did a little bit of paint in there. The zipper is painted with a really nice silver. I do like that. And then his track suit goes on the inside of his arms and the outside, which is really nice. I don't know if any of that was on camera, but it just painted so sloppily. It's really nice that they painted it. It's not painted good. The zipper's painted pretty good, but that's just so bad. It bleeds and it's not neat. The hands are painted okay, and then you do get his shoes and his track jeggings. I love his build. He's so good. Freaking Vector. Oh my god, peak villain. But his shoes look really good too. They're actually painted pretty cleanly, all things considered. So him just standing there is great. It's Vector. What more could you ask for? So you do get his piranha gun, which I'm really happy to see that all these figures came with accessories. I've never had one with accessories. Poe didn't come with anything, and Alex didn't come with anything. And so far, those are the only ones that I have. I would like the Alice in Wonderland ones. They look really nice. Or not Alice in Wonderland, I'm sorry, Wizard of Oz. Those are the only other ones that I would be interested in. I'll probably buy them eventually. But look at the piranha gun. There's a lot of good paint on here. The bulb, I guess, where all the piranhas are held. I would have liked Squid Gun a little bit better, but I'm okay that he got piranha gun. They painted the piranha's face on there. Looks pretty good. You get a little bit of paint on the handle and the trigger, and then all the eyes and stuff, that's the jar. Now he doesn't hold it great, but he can do it. So obviously he's really squishy. It's kind of just squeeze his hand in there, and if you just leave him alone, he'll hold it. That's good enough. For me, he's probably going to be something like that. Oh yeah, I love it. It's great. It's just, oh my god, Vector. How funny is this, guys? Am I the only one who finds this hilarious that there's an option to get a Vector action figure? I don't know. I love it. But anyway, in terms of Vector's articulation, for the head, it'll adjust a little bit, but really not a lot. I don't know why, though. His neck is really pencily, so I kind of wish that it did a little bit more. The arms will move up that far. They'll go down, rotate, that kind of thing, bend all over the place. They're pretty good because they are thin. His body's not going to do jack shit. And then his legs, kind of the same deal. They only move from, the knee down, really, which kind of does work if you need it to pose or anything. It's not bad. It's... Again, I expect this with this line. This is more for the aesthetic and to get awesome characters that nobody else is making. So, in that regard, couldn't be happier. But, yeah, no, it's just crazy to have Vector. But again, and he stands really good, even as he falls. But even with the piranha gun, he'll stand. But if he doesn't want to stand, he comes with a figure stand as well. And his just has the V on there for Vincent. Vector. But yeah, he does stand too. So yeah, I think overall Vector's pretty cool. But of course, you know I had to save the man, the myth, the legend himself, Gru. Come on, man. Gru is a peak character, okay? Gru is such a Chad in every way. Bro, Solo is your favorite verse. I don't care what anybody says. Gru is top dog, okay? And this figure, while it isn't superposable, it's just awesome to have. Like, I've always wanted Gru, and I actually tried a custom of him a little bit ago, but it just was so bad that I was like, nope, we're not doing this. And then I saw the Spot from Marvel Legends, and everybody was making the jokes that he looks like Gru, and he's built like Gru, and he kind of is built like Gru, and I thought about doing a custom of him, but honestly, this is enough for me for right now. Until we get a super articulated line of Despicable Me figures, this is enough for old Anthony. But anyway, taking a look at his head sculpt, I do like the sculpt of it. I just think that the paint is a little, not super big on the paint. I think the eyes could have been done a little bit better. Obviously, he's got his big nose. Looks really good in terms of sculpt on the scarf. Like, look at the texture on there. His scarf is iconic as hell, so you have to sculpt that really good. I love his little G zipper and the way that it's painted silver. It looks really nice. His hands are painted okay. Nothing crazy on there. I really like the paint on the scarf. His scarf looks so good. And then the pants don't really have much of a sculpt on them. They do have a seam sculpted on the side and his big long feet. In terms of accessories, he comes with freezeray. Looks great, and it looks like you could plug some stuff in there. I don't have anything with me at the moment, but you could probably plug an ice effect in that. Silver and the blue is really nicely applied on here, and he holds it better than Vector holds his weapon, so that's probably why he won. Girls, but yeah, no, this is pretty cool. He looks like he's ready to steal the moon, right? I mean, come on now, he's ready to steal the moon, but his posability, as you guessed, is extremely limited, so he's not going to do anything with that. The arms, kinda. I mean, though, you can get them a little bit up. Obviously, the torso is not going to do jack shit. The legs, that's about as far. All right, and then you can kind of twist them to get better standing poses, but honestly, again, I'm not here for the articulation. I'm here for the aesthetic and getting cool characters that I've always wanted on the shelf. And Gru just so happens to fill that. So, yeah, I think Gru, he does not pose good, but he does stand very well with his long feet. But if he doesn't, for some reason, stand, or you like the figure stance, he does come on with his logo as well. In terms of scaling, I kind of don't like the way that they're all scaled. I mean, Balthazar should definitely be the tallest. So I'm happy that he is. And then Gru, but I think Dr. Nefario and Vector are definitely too tall. Dr. Nefario should be pretty short. I mean, his head, the top of his head, I'm not going to count his hair, but the top of his head should only be about to Gru's armpit, I would say. And Vector should be a little bit shorter than Gru, maybe around the same height, but definitely a little bit shorter. So to have Vector kind of the second biggest one, not a huge fan of that. In terms of scaling with other lines, take this right here, snapshot that in your head. We're going to move these three over and use Gru as the reference point. But next to NECA's King Kong, and then the 7-inch DC Multiverse Batman, I would say that that's more of a 7-inch scale, because Gru's kind of a shorter dude, right? And then, well, spoiler alert for Zombie Cap. He does work for 6-inch, though. So if you want to use him in a 6-inch collection, I think that he could definitely do it. And then, obviously, here with Zombie Cap, you know, I think it's okay. I think Gru's a little bit shorter, so I think that it works in that regard, that you don't really need him towering over people. So I know a bunch of you out there are probably wondering, yo, Ant, what are you thinking of these figs? And I gotta say, they're pretty damn cool. Now, I want you guys to know that if I had the choice between figure styles like this or super actually articulated figures, of course I would pick the articulated figures any day. But do you guys know anybody who's making super articulated Despicable Me figures in 6-inch scale? I didn't think so, because there's not one, and this is the closest thing we got to fitting in my collection. And, you know, on one hand, if somebody was to offer me a better version of each of these characters, I would take it. But if I had to go the rest of my action figure collecting career, and this is all I had, I'd be totally fine. I would be totally fine. So, In terms of ratings, I really like that they each come with an accessory. That's really cool because it does make it feel more high quality and more of a collector grade kind of thing rather than just a kid's toy that just so happens to feature characters that adults like a little bit more. So at the bottom of the list, I would say is Dr. Nefario. I'm only going to give him about a 7 just because he's a brick. He doesn't do anything. He looks fantastic. And he's got the cleanest paint out of everybody. He looks fantastic. I like his accessory, but he just doesn't move. Balthazar and Vector, I would say, are about an 8. Just because, again, Balthazar moves good, but his paint sucks, and same with Vector. They don't really got good paint. But Gru, he moves okay, and his paint's pretty good. So I'll give him a 9 for this kind of figure. Again, this kind of figure. Plus, I really like the freezeray. And Gru's the main man. But anyway, that's kind of like all I got for today. So if you have not already, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I post a lot over there, and I have a lot of fun, so I'm sure you all will too. But other than that, that's all I got. So as always, let me know. Are you copying? I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.